So Joe Biden's only got 2 months left in office.
Hmm.
He needs to go after the food manufacturers that price gouged everybody during COVID, and
Hmm.
not with a federal lawsuit like they've done, but bring them out on a perp walk in the middle of New York City in handcuffs, walking into the back of the police station and get arrested like they deserve to be arrested. That could salvage the Democratic Party. That one move.
Yes, sir.
Did you see what I just sent you a minute ago?
What is that? Office of Religious Liberty something?
Religious Liberty and American Patriotism?
Uh-huh.
What the? There's a country in Middle Europe that lost their boy somewhere, the guy with the mustache, and
Uh-huh.
he's now arrived here. I I always kind of joke and go, I'm living a dystopian nightmare. And when the public school superintendent opens a open public school, when he
Yeah,
opens an office of religious liberty and American patriotism,
that's gotta be
hey
fun.
man,
I saw something
all
about displays of patriotism in schools or something that he's planning to put up.
what does that mean?
Nine. Knock it off.
Exactly. So this is what you get when your whole state goes for one candidate. I mean, there's
Mhm.
77 counties with all the things going on with our schools, with all the things that's going on with our people. We're 49th and everything, or 50th out of 50. Just so you know, it's not 200. This is, I mean, that election told everybody that this is where we want to go. I mean, and that's true. If I were on the other side, I'd be saying that's what they voted for.
Yeah.
So, welcome to my nightmare. Yeah.
There
So
is a
now we've
great
got
there is a
go ahead.
great bit about Colin Quinn in a show he did called Red State, Blue State, where
Yeah.
he says that the problem with two parties is a two-party system is that someone's like, hey, I'm a vegan, eating steak makes me ill. And basically, the electoral college tells them, well, you have to eat it for the next 4 years. After that, you can
Right.
switch.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's weird, but I honestly, I mean, it's their turn, and we
Mhm.
knew what we were getting, and people voted for it. So I don't really know what to say. Look, I'm 61. I'm old. This doesn't really affect me, truthfully, except there are the weirdos back out again. Do you remember the guys that would walk around with like an assault rifle, do it
Mhm.
with in a video camera? They're back.
Oh, at
Going
fucking
going to
Walmart and
different.
shit.
Yeah, call it second. I'm doing a Second Amendment audit. You're like, you obviously don't know what an audit is. Me, what's in a name? I'm doing a Second Amendment audit. Yeah, they're back, and yeah, and I've got my I have my usual amount of threats on the internet because I don't agree with people who have no education. And it
Mhm.
isn't because they have no education, it's because they spout the fact that they have no education, but yet have a big opinion. That's, I think, is the argument.
I know I'm quoting a lot of comics. Ronnie Chang had this amazing line in one of his shows where he says, I hate that people who didn't finish college automatically think they're street smart, whereas whereas you should tell these people, yeah, you can be both book dumb
Right.
and street dumb.
Right. I'm from the school of hard knocks is the person not to argue with. It isn't because
Mhm.
they're tough or anything. If there really was a school called Hard Knocks and you paid to go there, you deserve to be 49th in education. Yeah, we're just trolling down on the bottom for whatever's at the bottom of the sea at this point. And evidently, here's what I will say in confidence for anybody that actually watches this. Ryan Walters is getting played by Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Donald Trump is a master manipulator. He just keeps telling Walters to blow this or do this or whack this, and
Uh-huh.
just to see how much stuff he will do to kiss his ass. And Walters doesn't understand he's getting played.
But even his announcements for cabinet, he's pretty much
Yeah.
doing it like the format of The Apprentice.
Apprentice. Oh yeah. And he's
Mhm.
trolling, he's trolling everybody.
Yeah.
Right. No.
I wonder how
You
far.
don't yeah.
No, I wonder how far Ryan Walters is going to go before he. Mhm.
You know, you know, because there's a Harvey Weinstein in every world,
Mhm.
and we have the Harvey Weinstein in charge again.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I don't know. It's Here's what I will say to you: for all of the information out there about Walters, least popular Republican, and all this other stuff, everybody voted. I mean, all 77 counties went for Trump here. So
Mhm.
what we're hearing and what's happening is not the same thing.
Correct, Tim.
Yeah. And so I mean, I don't even know where to start, really and truly. I'm gonna go on a trip to Buenos Aires and see how that city looks. But they've got that nut job ex soccer player in charge there. You know, I mean, everybody's
Mhm.
got something. It seems right now that seems to be the sway of things before it goes really bad. But
So yeah, I mean, it was something that you could see happening all over the world, right? Where every
yeah,
country was.
we're not unique.
Mhm. Where every country basically did not, a certain portion of every population did not really reap the benefits of globalization. So they went more conservative and pulled back within their boundaries and
Right.
started electing far right guys, which is what we're going to see even for the next decade or so, is my guess.
Right. Well, there, you know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the amazing thing is the Republican Party were the ones who literally started quietly telling business owners to set up shop in China.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but Dems are equally as guilty. They go wherever the money is, you know.
Yeah.
And Walmart, everybody always goes, well, what policy would be different? And the Walmart is what brought about what you're talking about. That literally, it's
Mm-hmm.
an outlet for China to sell their products in America by the world's probably best retailer at some given point, Sam Walton. Now his kids own it, and they want to own
Mm-hmm.
schools like Walmart's.
That is actually hilarious for me that Walmart would actually, like, the family has decided to go into education of all things.
It really is. That I'm serious. That's where this money's coming from. It's two guys in Texas, the Walton family, and of course now I can't remember the third party, the old Koch brothers. So we got chicken factory people, but Koch brothers owned more than chicken factories. And
I
then
think
we've
they
got
have
the
their
people,
grubby little paws in every damn business, Sean,
yeah,
industry
and
that way.
well, and now the Walton family, you'd have to look at it the same way. They get bored with selling, you know, just trainloads of Chinese stuff. And then I think Amazon squeezed them a little bit.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, what other business opportunities are out there? Half of the budgets in most states go to education.
And see, the thing is that even if this stupid, idiotic thing of raising tariffs, it's not a sound economic idea, but then
No.
even if you do that, the bigger, larger, more established logistics companies that actually manage trade between the US and China, no, they would generally just set up warehouses in the US and wholesale it through those instead of getting any purchase orders directly to China. There's a workaround for that system.
Oh, yes. This isn't new. Here's the thing. We did export all of our jobs. Okay, so you were in England long enough to learn that they were the powerhouse of the world until they exported all of their jobs to America.
Yeah.
And then they got into a war they couldn't afford because they weren't bringing in taxes. And who then had to loan them money for that war? Same people. And then who owns England then? That would be us. The appearance is that we do their stuff. They can't do anything without us. Literally nothing. And so we have done the same thing with you all in China, basically in Mexico. Mexico is probably our biggest actual trade partner, I believe, if I've got that correct. But then it's what we have to eventually figure out is what is bluster and what is reality. And for those of you who don't know what bluster is, that's when you hear politicians go, I think, and then they go behind the room and go, hey, I got to do that for my people back home. Do you want to get a deal cut today or do you want to come back next week? I mean, James Lankford, always tries to tell everybody how normal he is after he does, crazy Oklahoma stuff. Yeah.
I have no idea where this all is going to end up in the next 4 years, and it's going to be.
Here's what do you know Stephen Miller? Do you know Stephen Miller is
Oh yeah,
rather unattractive guy that when he acts like the Ryan Walters with bad looks, like he's got a 10 head, your forehead's here, he's got one all the way back here, and he's just a wretched human being who happens to be Jewish, but he's very anti-Semitic and a bigot and a white supremacist. So that's the perfect right-hand guy. I mean, his cabinet's starting to shake out to look like something from the Third Reich. And I know that's not on purpose, probably. Well, maybe it is. But, our governor looks like one of the old Third Reich guys, with the big old eyebrows and all that stuff. If you look at a photo of that guy's inner circle, it's starting to look that way. And I don't think that's intentional. That's just happens to be how world's playing out again. Our checks and balances are lost. Like in our state, they knocked off one of the Supreme Court justices, and that was our last check and balance. It's gone.
Okay.
I mean, and the United States Supreme Court
that tilted a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. Iffy at best. And you've got, it's dominated by Catholics.
No, but it is amazing. And also the Democrats' fault that during Obama's time, he did not appoint as many judges and shit like that in the lower courts and just left all of those jobs open for Trump to show up. Because I think the Dems were just confident that Hillary was going to get in next and do those appointments, but she never did.
I think now there's been two overconfident Democrat deal. What I would say is, so I'll give you Oklahoma. Let's do the microcosm because it's the microcosm of America one way or another. It's a little less. It's 80% white here. Okay, so where are your votes?
Yeah.
Right there. And who did you alienate? 80% of the voter base. You don't get to go get them back after you've alienated them. It's not how stuff works with people. And the thing that I have learned over the past 2 weeks, I didn't understand how rare white females vote for non-Republicans because it's very rare. And it's in the 10% range ordinarily. And Joe Biden, they went up to 15% because they wanted to get rid of Donald. And then Kamala Harris, they dropped back down to 10. White women don't vote Democrat. So that means only white men did. And that's the ones that kind of threw out and alienated. And I get you. Once Black Lives Matter, if you showed up to a meeting, they were mad at everybody. You were there when it was all white and they were like, hey, we love brown people.
I was like, don't fucking put me on the spotlight. Talk to the rest of the room, please.
I was in the meeting, so I know what happened. And so we had the opposite effect. So then they ran off these other voters. Well, they just went to the crazy side. Because they're voters. If you show up to a Democratic meeting or you're involved in labor or anything, they were showing up.
Yeah.
They just weren't allowed to be part of the process, so they left. So what percentage of the population does that leave you with? 20%. Yeah, you're not going to win.
Yeah. Like it is.
I mean, the math is so bad. And so yesterday, Kit Fairchild, the guy that does the other podcast with me, goes, well, what do we do to fix it? And I go, you can't fix that. That's math. That's not policy, ego, attitude, or anything. You think how many of your personal friends voted for Trump?
Yeah, that's the thing that now I'm just very skeptical in all of my client calls where I'm like, part of my brain is like, I wonder who this person voted for, even though they do business with me.
Yeah, you know who they voted for. And that's with having you as a friend. Like they were able to move that into a separate compartment as if that doesn't affect you when it affected you last time. That's why you're in India.
Yeah. That's the weird part, right? If you compartmentalize it that way and kind of look at it as... It goes back to that old statement where they'd stop saying it for a couple of years, where if I get introduced, they'd be like, oh, don't worry, he's one of the good ones. Where now it's gone back to that.
Yeah, it swung the other way. People would say that about me for a while. And now it's gone back. So I don't know, man. The interesting thing for me, and like I said earlier, I'm not sure this has any effect on my lives, but
Hmm.
we were battling over whether public education was going to survive in Oklahoma, and that vote for Donald Trump almost guaranteed that it goes away.
Yeah.
And 95% of the population uses it.
Hmm.
So the guillotine now has a sharper blade. Am I to still bother with any of this? I mean, honestly, if you were me,
Yeah. You wouldn't, really doesn't affect you, to be honest, does it?
right? No, no, it's for other people. And I don't want to be all high and mighty, but you go, oh, God, I thought you guys were wanting to do this, and evidently you're not.
Hey, by the way, I should tell you that Sharon did comment on our video from last week, and she was like, Sean, I'm happy that everything is going to be unaffected for you, but some of us got really hurt. And I was like, I know, it's fair enough.
Yeah, and I fully realize that, but I also have to go, God, I mean, I've got a target on my back from all the white supremacists. So,
Mm.
and I full well understand that. I don't mind, but how many of the people that I work with voted for him?
Yeah.
I mean, how
Like,
many school teachers?
I wonder
How
how
many
many
school
people.
teachers?
No, I wonder like how many people that you and even I have talked to about democratic politics
Right,
and our stupid liberal views who were just sitting there going like, will these two fuckers shut up?
right. Yeah, I mean, it's astounding. So, um, I'm trying to process all of it. So tomorrow we're doing the highway that was donated, or not donated, but in memorial of my wife.
Hmm.
And so they did this 3-minute newscast on it last night, which is 3 minutes is a long. You and I know that's a long time. Usually
Yeah.
a 30-minute story, 30-second story. And I think they were trying to emphasize, which is the problem. Everyone just keeps trying to emphasize something rather than saying it. Oh my God, this was the last like good politician doing things for people, and this is what they accomplished, all this other stuff. And I watched it, and all of my wife's family were like, God, that's beautiful, that's great, and everything else. Guess who they voted for?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know what you do with that. You just go,
But
oh,
Sean,
okay.
somewhere at the back of your head, in my head, we knew that they were voting that way right from when Kathy
Oh,
ran
I did.
for lieutenant
Yes,
governor back like
sorry,
2012.
correct.
Mm-hmm. The moment those poll results came out, we already knew what our friends were doing, even though they were hanging out with us every day.
Right. Enjoying the party, but not paying for any of the food or drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't. It's interesting for me. I'm not because a lot of people are like I'm just shocked. I'm like I'm not shocked. I'm still trying to dissect it. And the big question is where do you go from here? They've got different meetings going on here that are not Democratic Party involved. People
quite a few people have actually asked me whether you were running for the Democratic that position again, or you should run for it for the sole reason that they literally are like a frog out of water. Fish out of water?
So
Why did I say frog out of water? I have no idea,
well,
Sean.
because the frog doesn't jump out of water when it heats up to boiling. So it is.
Maybe I mixed the two up.
It was a correct analogy. That's why I didn't say anything. I'm like, God, that was pretty smart. Okay, you know that for a business, I take bankrupt businesses and turn them around. That's what I do for a job. My entire life, that's how I've made money. That business is so bankrupt, it's unfixable.
Yeah. No.
The infrastructure has cancer. What little infrastructure there is has cancer. I honestly don't see it fixable. And then the national Democratic policy is so left of left that down here, we can't even talk to somebody about labor rights, labor relations, or anything else. Honest to God, the most uneducated people going, well, I voted for Donald because it's good for business. And you're like, what business is it that you do? You and I are in business.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe I'll run for it. At 61, man, I don't think I want that headache. Here's the here's the plate. If we can take 2 minutes to talk about this.
Mhm.
So you got all white people on this side
Yeah.
who we're in the Bible Belt, so they're Christian,
Mhm.
who don't know what Christian nationalism is, even though they're in it.
Yeah.
They literally don't know. They don't know why there's no prayer in school, no Bibles in school, and they really don't understand it.
Mhm.
Because when they were young, it happened back in the good old days when everything was segregated, and everything was better because it was segregated.
Yeah.
That's the part they don't add to the end of the sentence.
Mhm.
And the Democratic Party is every 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% in a bowl together that don't really agree with each other, but are just stuck there because they're not in this other group.
Mhm.
And there's no cohesive way to take part of the other group and then put it in with all the other weird ingredients. And they are. It's the good news about the Democrats, they want to save everybody. The bad news is, I always told my wife, I said, you work harder than anybody I've ever met in my life for people that don't vote.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, if you don't vote, you don't matter.
Mhm.
And that's a fact. I mean, so how long can you work for people that don't vote as you're like the super left Green Party, that wants to eat only fruit that falls off of trees.
Mhm. Yeah.
And nobody cares. You become a sideshow. And so if you and I looked at it as a business, I would go, hey, run the numbers on it and see if we can fix this. And you'd go, well, Sean, I ran the numbers. It's worse than you think. And because I look at it and go, if I went in there and changed the vibe of this business, the feel of this business, could it come around? Yeah, but probably not in my lifetime. I just don't. I think you'd have to go back and go, so when these folks were in charge, what terrible shit did they do to run these other people off?
Yeah.
Because the Dems were not. They were in charge and they were mean about being in charge. And they were in charge for 100 years here. So, I don't. No, I'm not running for anything. I'm done.
No,
I'll give my opinion.
There is a famous quote about what good men plant trees in the shade of which they will never sit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've done that. Hey, look, man, you know this. I've been at this 12, 13, 14 years. And before that, that's just what people saw here. I'm not bitching about it because I'm still continuing. I'm helping a girl named Sarah Banna with a race. But I'm not getting into statewide politics or national. National politics is pointless. It's the stuff that affects us the least and everybody sees the most because it's on their cable news. What really affects you is City Hall. City Hall affects everybody. And you can change stuff there. But I don't know. We got to let this thing ride out, man. I mean,
the funny part is, amongst my friends, classmates, people I know in Oklahoma, I've probably been to most City Hall meetings than they have done in their entire life.
Right.
And it's weird if nobody's taking part in those kind of local politics. Yeah. They're usually just watching national politics as a spectator spot, even though they can affect something in their neighborhood.
Well, and then you look at it and you get that soundbite. You and I know a well-designed 15-second soundbite's better than a 2-hour speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's the jab, it's the punch, is it the knockout punch? So I don't have an answer for any of that. I mean, I just look at it. My deal is, I'm in the last quarter of my life. Is this something I can change? And if it's something I can't change, I'm not going to waste my time with it. Now, have I had fun kicking the crud out of Ryan Walters for 2 years? Yeah. But I don't mind. I don't mind getting in the ring on stuff like that. But this vote just told me that it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say, and I'm not doing this from an ego standpoint, I was the guardrail.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I never saw at those meetings? I never saw 100 parents show up.
Yeah, it was always just you and the people that were activists with you, right?
Defense of democracy. So, so where are the parents of these 750,000 students here that use public schools? And look, if the parents aren't going to show up, there's no reason for me to show up.
Do you think they silently wished that it fell in the way that Ryan Walters wanted it to work?
I
Like,
think we're in the Bible Belt. Yeah, and they just didn't say anything, or they just voiced. Yeah, have you been around a group of 5 girls and a girl's wearing something just doesn't work, and they'll all go, "No, that looks great."
hmm
I think we may have had some of that. I mean, I'm not sure, or I only heard from the people that disapproved of it.
yeah.
I mean, most of my associates here are Catholic just because of where I am. Oh, they all got a free $7,000 per student per year.
hmm See, what I also wonder is that, like, is there like a stigma attached to it in case they had showed their voice with you?
Oh God,
If
yes,
the
in
other
their community, yeah,
mm-hmm.
where you know too well. Oh well, I don't care. You don't care. They care. Look, they're probably second generation. You know, this stuff here only goes back 2 generations, maybe 3. This was wasteland before they moved the Native Americans here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a community that kids are gonna marry into and everything else. Like think of Western Europe. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Like a modern
so
day
I don't.
village.
Yeah, what the law says. I love what you do. There's a lady that works at Oklahoma State Department of Ed that asked my close friend. He is going to still do this stuff with Walters, and she said, "Who'd you vote for?" And she goes, "I voted for Trump." And she works at Oklahoma State Department of Ed.
Oh wow. They don't even realize the cognitive dissonance in that, eh?
Right. 49th in education. So if you look at it, I don't know where this ends because I wish I had a clip from this guy in Iowa that was explaining to other Iowans why there were Latinos working on the farms.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we put ads in every newspaper, on the TV and everything else and said, come out and work at our farms. And no one showed up. No one. No one. Zero. So he goes, so I have to use visa workers or we have to leave.
Yeah.
And people were still, but because on national news they're seeing that these are the enemy and everything else. They're picking fruit. What do you think they're doing? Planting poppies while they're down there? I mean,
oh goodness.
You're paying them $12 an hour. Let's quit acting like it's real money. So I think the next thing that we look for here in America is if they continue the anti-immigrant thing and we have a hurricane or an earthquake, there's no one to come fix stuff. That's the workforce. There's no one else to pick the food and tend the fields. And so maybe if it costs you $12 a pound for hamburger, maybe you correlate. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't. I know we're short on time, and I'll tell you one other thing that I wish would happen. So Joe Biden's only got 2 months left in office. He needs to go after the food manufacturers that price gouged everybody during COVID, and not with a federal lawsuit like they've done, but bring them out on a perp walk in the middle of New York City in handcuffs, walking into the back of the police station and get arrested like they deserve to be arrested. That could salvage the Democratic Party. That one move.
Yeah.
So you know why people talk about food prices all the time? Because we're getting screwed and nobody even said anything. They're like, well, we're looking at a federal lawsuit. What does that mean to a person who makes $15 an hour and milks $4.50?
It doesn't have time to follow the stupid federal lawsuit in the news to see what the hell updated in the damn thing. Eh?
Right. For 10 years, and then the company agrees to pay $200 million, but not say that they did anything wrong. I did not rape that girl, but I get to do that. Everybody's tired of that game. And look, Kamala Harris was prosecutor.
Yeah.
She knows how to do this and didn't do it. That's what lost the election.
Yeah.
Didn't do shit. So I don't know. From here, I don't want this to be all depressing, because what I would say is once all the roads cleared out and everything, you get to plant new stuff. I mean, things will come out of this that are good. We already had the clown car chaos. The lady that's running his organization, chief of staff, was like, yeah, we're not letting the clown car in. You go, the clown car's in the basement. They're already here. And we've got the clown car. Moms of Liberty, one of the Moms of Liberty people are up to be head of as Secretary of Education.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
On that worrying note was what I was going to say.
Yeah. We got that going.